Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Michelle Shelton. I'm a registered dietitian and certified coach. And in this channel, I teach people strategies to achieve a life of health and well-being that is centered in reconnecting to your body, your wisdom, as you build that life of wellness and well-being. And it's an intentional shift away from what we hear in the wellness industry, which is a lot of external rules and advice, a lot of control, restriction, and management, right? What I want to help you do is reconnect to your wisdom. And this topic that I want to talk about today is really important because as you hear that, like most people and like where I used to be, which was in a place where like I would hear that and say, that sounds great, but I don't have that wisdom inside of me because all I feel and all I experience is a lot of chaos and disconnection and an inability, right, to really nourish myself. It feels really chaotic and out of control. That's what I used to feel like. If you feel like that, you are normal. Many people feel that way as well. And so what the skill that I want you to practice that I'm going to share with you today is really important to help you, if this feels like you, to come back to that place of wisdom, okay? Because the truth is, if we are not in the practice of nourishing that wisdom and connecting in with it, we do lose touch with it. We don't lose it, we lose touch with it, right? It's still inside of us. And the journey and the work is to reconnect into it, right? It doesn't go anywhere, ever. It is always inside of you. But sometimes we have to reestablish the channels of connection. Okay, so that's one of the skills we're going to work on today. And so what I'm calling it is the skill of staying home with yourself. Staying home with yourself. And when I say that, I do not mean staying in your house by yourself, right? That's not what I'm talking about. However, that may be a good thing to do, and it may be something that can help us practice. But I'm talking about staying inside, right, with your internal experience, your internal feelings, your internal wisdom, and learning to lean into that as you engage in the world, right? So it's actually about engaging in the world from a place of centering with yourself, right? Engaging in the world as you maintain that place of center right here at home with yourself, okay? So that's what I'm talking about. It's about going out in the world, engaging and contributing from you, from your place of wisdom. Okay, so we get that. All right, so what does this look like? These are some of the things that I often hear. And again, some of these things may resonate with you, right? So a lot of my clients will say, I just don't trust myself. I don't trust myself. Like you maybe are telling me to like reconnect to my wisdom, but I don't trust myself. So something's going to have to change, right? Something's going to have to shift. Or a lot of people will say, I don't have self-control. If I had more self-control, then I would do this and this and this, and my life would look the way I want it to look, and it's not, and so I don't have the self-control. Or it may be just that feeling of not feeling confident, right? Like I can't rely on myself, so I have to rely on other people, and that kind of reliance on others is a manifestation of a lack of confidence, right? So if any of those resonate with you, just a lack of knowledge or like a connection to what you need, a lack of trust in yourself, a feeling that you don't have self-control, or a lack of confidence, all of those are ways that this may manifest in your life. So I want to suggest to you that a fundamental cause of these feelings, right, of disconnection with ourselves and lack of trust come from just some very basic human needs. Okay, so very basic. At the most fundamental level as humans, we need to be safe and we need to give and receive love. Okay, that is like the most fundamental, like what does it mean to be human, right? We need to be safe to maintain our existence, right? And we need to be loved and receive love. That's part of that connection, right? That as humans is just so fundamental to our nature. And so with those two needs driving us, right? Safety may look like safety, having the food that you need, right, to maintain your body's metabolism. It may mean shelter to keep your body protected from the elements. It may mean protection from harm. It may mean safe space to be able to learn and to grow and develop, or space to be able to express yourself. Those are all part of safety, right? And to give and receive love is just that experience of connection with other human beings. So as we go out into the world and we have these needs, right, We're constantly scanning to notice if we feel safe. And if we feel safe, we can then relax into that expression, right, of ourselves and that connection to ourselves. If we're not safe, if we don't feel safe, we're putting a lot of energy into managing our environment in order to restore safety. And so I want you to notice and watch for these patterns, right, that maybe may indicate that there are parts of you that aren't feeling safe and that are working really, really hard to be safe, right? If you find yourself over attuning to other people's needs, taking responsibility for their needs, right, outside of like maybe normal, roles as a parent or as an employee, right? You have some responsibility to other people, but if you find yourself over attuning and taking responsibility for things that they are actually responsible for, that may be a manifestation. If you find yourself trying really hard to manage your environment, and in the space of wellness, this comes up actually a lot, right? If I can just manage my environment so that these foods are here and these foods are not, then I can feel safe here, right? Avoiding certain things. Again, in the space of wellness, if I can just avoid these foods, if they can just not be part of my environment, I'll be fine. Or if I can avoid these people who trigger me, or if I can avoid these situations, right? Managing avoidance or taking responsibility for other people's emotions, other people's experiences, other people's reactions, right? Those are all an attempt to keep ourselves safe. And in reality, safety does come from that connection, that centering in with ourselves, right? And that's the journey we want to make back into coming back home, right? Is reconnecting into our place of wisdom so that we can engage with the world, not from that place of control and managing, but from a centering in ourselves and a full empowerment of all of our abilities, all of our skills, all of our gifts and talents, right? That's really what we want. And if we're managing and working so hard to feel safe, it takes us out of that. We can't do that. So the first step back home is simply to reattune to yourself, okay? This is one of my favorite exercises to use to build that inner voice. And it's so simple. There's 4 questions that you ask on a regular basis. You can even take a journal, just taking note of what your answer is moment by moment, day by day, right? What do I feel? What do I think? What do I want? And what do I need? So feeling can be attuning to 2 things. Physical sensation. What am I feeling right now? Where am I tense? Where am I uncomfortable? Where do I feel some energy? What's my heart rate doing? What's my breathing doing? Right? What is physically happening in my body? Where do I feel supported? Where do I feel a lack of support? The cool thing about sensation is it brings us back into the present moment so quickly, right? It brings us right back in. So tuning to what you're feeling. The other thing, right? Feelings can also be emotions. What emotions am I noticing? Am I feeling sad? Am I feeling anxious? Am I feeling happy? Am I feeling silly? Am I feeling stressed, right? What am I feeling in this moment? Really attuning into that. The second one, what do I think? What thoughts are coming into my mind? Thoughts are so interesting, right? Because so often they're a signal of past memories that are maybe coming up and influencing our current experience, or future things that we're anticipating that we might be protecting from, right? That's where that safety comes in. I remember this happening. I remember the time where I got hurt here. And so now I'm protecting against this thing that hasn't even happened yet and may not happen yet. It may not happen at all, but I'm protecting, right? I'm anticipating it and preparing for it, right? Tuning into our thoughts can kind of give us that signal of how we're kind of orienting to our past and our future, right? And how far we are out of the present moment, right? So noticing, what are my thoughts? The third thing you're checking in with what do I need? What do I need in this moment, right? So as I'm tuning in physically, I may notice that I'm hungry and I need food. I may notice that I'm sad and I need comfort. I may notice that I'm really, really full and I need maybe just some rest to let my body digest, right? Because I ate too much. Or maybe I am stressed or overwhelmed because there's a lot going on in my life and I need a moment to sort of just like bring down that level of overwhelm in my life, right? I need a little quiet to balance the overwhelm, right? Tuning into your needs, again, centered in what you feel and what you think, is beginning to reconnect to that wisdom, right? Because so often we have things going on in our body, right? That maybe we feel that sadness, that without bringing that awareness, we're like, that means I'm hungry, right? If I can eat, then it might help this hunger that I have for connection, versus tuning into what am I actually feeling? What am I thinking? Starts to open up that awareness into what you actually need. And now you're unlocking your wisdom. And then the last thing you're asking is, what do I want? Right? What do I feel? What do I think? What do I need? And what do I want? And what do I want, may not always be possible, right? That's the tricky thing about wants, but attuning to it and knowing what it is important. And being able to ask for what you want and ask for what you need is a really important part of knowing who you are as a person, right? Independent of what else is going on around you, and being able to tolerate that. No, maybe you can't get that. That's okay, right? But at least I can honor that and see that inside of myself and respect that as a whole person, right? That is where you begin to recultivate that wisdom and build trust in yourself, right? This is where the trust really stems from, this foundation of coming back home and connecting into your experience, your thoughts, your feelings, your needs, and your wants, right? And being able to navigate the world from that place of center and grounding in who you are as a person. Okay, so that's what I want you to practice a little bit this week. It has so many applications in wellness as you're beginning to attune to your body and build that connection into your hunger and your fullness, but so many other places as well, right? You can apply it so many other places in relationships, in your self-development, right? In your connection with other people. Understanding what's yours and what's not yours is such an empowering, important place to be. So I want you to practice that skill. What do I feel? What do I think? What do I need? What do I want? I'd love to hear any thoughts or reactions in the comments, so feel free to enter any comments you have. Don't forget to click subscribe if you want more tips on building that life of wellness, centered in that wisdom in yourself, your body wisdom, your heart wisdom. And if you are interested in a coaching consultation, if you want a free session where we can just set 3 goals based on where you are in your life, or we'll customize it based on your capacity, your goals, your intentions, your desires, right? Centering in you. You'll walk away, we'll work together so that you can walk away with 3 specific things you can begin today. So go to nourishwhoyouare.com to sign up for that. The link is in the video description. And thank you again for being here. I'll see you in the next video.